to Mr. Peter Davison, the doctor himself.
Good afternoon. Hi.
So, Peter, welcome. Thank you for stopping by with us. How are you doing?
I mean, that's loud, isn't it? I'm doing fine, yeah. I'm having a nice time.
Is this your first time to the Philadelphia convention?
It's my first time to the great Philadelphia Comic-Con. Yes, I have been in Philadelphia before. I know this because people keep showing pictures of me from 1980-something or other.
Sure, of course.
Where I look remarkably young and healthy, actually, and look a bit like Don Johnson in Miami Vice.
Was that the look you were going for?
Yeah, I think it was the look. Yeah, it was that kind of cool linen jacket with this. We used to wear the sleeves rolled up halfway, the sleeves around those. It was very, very cool.
So I'm going to get started. We're going to warm up again. This is a Q&A, so you folk out there, it's up to you to make this thing happen. In the UK, you've been continue on past Doctor Who. You've done a lot of other different shows. What are you most known for there? Because you've done Law & Order, you've done all sorts of different shows. Back
in Britain.
In Britain, yeah. Or are you always the Doctor everywhere you go?
Well, I think more than that, I'm still thought of as being Tristan.
Oh, really?
From All Creatures Great and Small, yeah. Thank you very much indeed.
Did that surprise you, that response?
Well, no. Once you've seen me with my arm up a cow,
It's hard.
Never really forget it. But I did a very successful series in about early 2000s called At Home with the Braithwaites, which was very popular in Britain. And I think actually did come over here in some areas because I've met people who've seen it. And I did another series called The Last Detective, which was very popular in Britain. So I've been around for far too long, actually, if you think about it. But even when I did Doctor Who, I got the sense that some people were sitting there going, "Oh, it's that bloke from the Vet series in a police box." But obviously, I'm known for being one of the doctors as well. I'm inextricably linked with, for various reasons, with the little blue box.
I don't think anyone minds that, though. I think it was very happy.
No, it was great. I've lost count of how many times I've been walking down the street and somebody shouted out, "Oi, mate, where's your TARDIS?" And I turn and say, "No one's ever said that before."
Fantastic. We have our first question.
Hello.
It is loud. So you were the Doctor for a while, and then you were not the Doctor for a while. So how did it feel to have them call you back to do that short with David Tennant a few years ago?
I loved it because when I left Doctor Who, I left because I was still quite young. I still wanted to do other things, and I did manage to move on to do other jobs, and so I never felt the need to distance myself from Doctor Who. I was always very happy to do, if I was asked to do something, whether it be audios or whether it be children in need specials. I was always very happy to do those things. So, and I got to know Stephen Moffat before he was producer of Doctor Who. He had written various Doctor Who stories when he returned, and because my real name is Moffat, and he has two sons called Josh and let me get this right. Hang on. He has what are his sons called? Josh and Louis, and mine are called Joel and Louis. So there were two Louis Moffats. Josh Moffat and Joel Moffat.
What are the odds of that?
Yeah, so we got to know each other, and I'd invited him round for lunch one Sunday, and he just said to me, "I've got this script for children in need. Would you, be prepared to do it?" And I read the script, and it was fantastic. It was at the time when David Tennant was the Doctor, and it was about the 10th Doctor remembering being the 5th Doctor, but also David Tennant remembering watching me being the Doctor. So it was a great script. I loved it. Yeah, it was a great joy to do.
Well, it was fun to watch. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you can bend it down. Or tiptoes.
My question is, what do you think about the present day doctors?
You mean those modern ones?
Yeah.
Came back? Yeah. They're a bit uppity, aren't they? I think they did a great job when it came back. I always said when it went off the air that I thought it wouldn't come back. It just would take a bit of time before someone said, hey, let's do Doctor Who again. But I didn't really anticipate it coming back in the form that it did, because it suddenly became the most prestigious BBC show there was. And it wasn't that in my day. We struggled to get a budget each year, and we scraped along the bottom of the sort of BBC priorities. So when it came back, and Russell T Davies was the man who brought it back, I thought they did it marvellously well. And for the most part, I thought it was really terrific. The great stories. I missed the four-parters, to be honest with you. I think the 45-minute story becomes a bit like trailer television. It's just like one long trailer. Things happen too fast. There's no chance to explore the narrative. But I thought they still did a great job.
You probably get asked this question a lot, but who's your favorite Doctor?
Well, my Doctor, let me put it like this, my Doctor was probably Patrick Troughton, because he was the one I grew up watching. And also he was the first of a generation, and so I think he had the most difficult job. And if he hadn't done that job well, we wouldn't all be sitting here today. I have a certain fondness for the 10th Doctor.
You wonder why?
I just thought he did a wonderful job. Not least in taking my daughter off my hands. But I don't mean that, dear. Sorry. It's just a joke. I'm in trouble.
Thank you.
Okay, how did you like being the Doctor?
I liked being the Doctor a lot, because when I I was the first, I guess, person who played Doctor who'd grown up watching it. And so when I got the phone call asking me if I wanted to be the next Doctor, it was an extraordinary feeling, because as an actor I had thought about getting a part in Doctor Who, and I probably said to my agent, is there anything in Doctor Who coming up that I could play? But I'd never anticipated actually being the Doctor. And it's like saving the universe every week. It makes you feel pretty good. It's like playing in the street when you're a kid. You go out and you sort of imagine you're some kind of superhero, and you're just saving the human race from aliens. And there I was doing that on television. So it was great. It was quite hard work, because they never gave us enough time. We only had the same amount of time as an ordinary drama, and we had lots of admittedly primitive but nevertheless complicated effects to do, and so we were always up against the clock. But I loved it.
I think I'm partially deaf now in this ear.
Yeah, it is. I know what you mean. Is that it? No, I thought we can talk about ourselves now.
I guess. Mr. Davison.
Oh, here we go. Sorry.
Can you please recall a funny moment while filming an episode, like a blooper?
A blooper?
Right.
How many bloopers when you were?
I don't think we had too many bloopers. I recall I was talking to Nicola, a bride about the other day, about dropping her in Caves of Androzani. I had to carry her across a sand to the door of the TARDIS, and she's, obviously, it's quite difficult carrying a dead weight about sort of 100 yards, and they asked me to do it 3 times because for some reason, I don't know, it didn't go well the first 2 times. Or maybe they were just waiting for this to happen. So I managed to get her there on the 3rd take. I got her to the door of the TARDIS, and then I just dropped her. And you can see her fall out of the bottom of the frame if you look very carefully. And I think they just wiped out the squeal as she hit the ground. Yeah, that was a good one. What else? I don't know really. I've got of course the classic Janet Fielding story, which she hates me telling, which is not really it didn't happen on the set, but I thought it was funny. But maybe now's not the time to tell it.
Go ahead.
It's all right. I don't know if it's the right story for this kind of particular these times, but Janet had this costume. In the first series, she was dressed from head to foot in a air stewardess's outfit, and that was fine. But she hated that costume. Then they gave her another costume, which she hated as well. And then they gave her this sort of boob tube affair, kind of like a corset thing. And she would always complain about this thing. She would say, it's really uncomfortable, it digs into me, and it keeps sort of slipping, and I hate it. And we were walking back from lunch one afternoon, we were in the studio, and she was whinging about this costume of hers. So I stopped and I said to her, Janet, just do me a favour, will you? Just reach as far above your head as you possibly can, will you? Anyway, the thing is, ladies, if you're wearing one of these boob tube things and some bloke says, would you stretch as far as you can above your head, would you do it? No, exactly. Well, Janet did. And the inevitable happened. And I, to be honest, I didn't look. I was just aware of it happening and then I just ran away. Unfortunately for Janet, the camera crew were walking along the corridor in the other direction and they didn't look away. That's 2 reasons I'm in trouble doing this panel. But it was very funny. But I've never let her forget it. And she never stops complaining at me. So that's it on the blooper front, really. You've had my entire collection of bloopers, unimpressive though they are.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello. Oh, that's a little too loud.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I scare easy.
I can see that. First of all, I'd like to say the Five-ish Doctors Reboot was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
And a couple people saw it here. Now, through this saga to actually get into the 50th anniversary special, it turned out that you were supposedly in costume during the 50th anniversary. Did that actually happen, or was that just made up as like the fruition of your journey?
How do you mean? In costume?
I think you were like dressed as Zygons. They made you dress as Zygons.
Oh, we were under sheets. Yes.
Oh, yes, under sheets.
We hid. Yes, we hid. How carefully have you watched this program?
It's been a little while. You were Zygons under sheets.
Well, what happened was we were trying to get into the 50th anniversary. We thought we'd done it by hiding inside the Daleks, and then the Daleks were sadly cut. But then it turned out that we'd actually been hiding on the Doctor Who set and had been mistaken for extras playing Zygons, and they threw sheets over our heads. You've got to see this. You've got to watch it. Okay, it's good. Then it turned out we did in fact get in the 50th anniversary special, because there we are in the scene with Matt Smith.
Now, was that actually the footage that they used, or was it different people?
No, that was the footage. We used the footage from the actual show, yeah. In fact, there's a line, if you look very carefully, in our show that's not in the 50th anniversary special, because they cut that one line out. So Matt Smith gets an extra line in our show.
Did he thank you?
He should have done, yes, I don't know. I'll remind him.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, doctor.
Hello.
Wow. I have this rash underneath my arm that's been bothering me. Do you have any idea? Actually, my question is, hopefully this doesn't cause a lot of controversy, but I'm a controversial guy. What do you think about a female doctor, being that the role has always been led by a male?
Well, what do you think about it? Let me turn the
What do
question
I think
on
about
you.
it? All
Yes.
I think it's about time.
Okay.
You know, it's definitely about time.
Good.
That's my feeling.
Good.
And I'm really looking
No, I have
forward
no
to it.
objection to her doing. Listen, all I ever said was I think it's a shame that we're losing a role model for boys, and I do think that. I stand by it. I think it's it doesn't mean to say she shouldn't play it. That's absolutely fine. It's great. I'm sure she'll do a wonderful job playing it. But I do think that the role of the Doctor was an important role model for boys. It's not a sort of gun-toting superhero, or he's not someone flying through one special effect after the other, smashing the enemy to bits and destroying everything. It's a very particular role model, and I think boys who find it difficult sometimes to operate in this prescient society identified with the Doctor, identified with that character as someone who was a bit of a loner, a bit of an outsider. And I think that's it's not something that particular thing can be fulfilled by a role model of a different gender. It'll be wonderful for girls, I'm sure, and I'm sure she'll do a great job. So good luck to her, absolutely. It does make me question what happens after they've ticked that box. Whether this is a new direction, and fine if it is, that we then have a succession of female doctors in order to balance what's been going on for the last 50 years, or if you tick that box and then say, okay, what do we do now?
Right.
Because if so, it's just an exercise in box ticking, and I don't understand that. So I think you have to continue with the idea of a female doctor. I don't see how you can back away from that. I don't want, personally, that Doctor Who should just turn into a series of things to tick little boxes of people's priorities. So will they then say, okay, we've done the female Doctor, shall we do the ethnic Doctor now? Because that's just turning Doctor Who into some kind of outlet for propaganda. I don't understand that logic. They've got to decide on a course and go with it. I just would be interested to see. I'm sure she'll do a fine job, and I never said she wouldn't. But best of luck to her.
Thank you, Doctor. Hello.
Hi.
I'm a big fan of your work with Big Finish, and I was wondering if you could let me know maybe what some of your favorite Big Finish stories have been. I'm not just pick a favorite, just what some of your favorites were.
Okay. The trouble with Big Finish is they're wonderful. I love doing them. But we do them in 2 days, and I can't remember the story of any of them literally a week after we've done them. And I think that applies to most of them. You'll find that's true of most of the doctors or the companions who take part in them. I know Spare Parts was very good. I have listened to that in the car with my children. So I always say that's my favourite one. I'm sure there are many others that were excellent. Generally speaking, the standard's very high. I think, and I enjoy.
Like for me, it's just a joy to let the Fifth Doctor's adventures continue. It's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Holding the spot for my mom.
Hi.
My question is, how many celery stalks did it take to make a doctor? Or was it fake?
Well, put it like this. I have met over the years many people who, when dressing up as me, have come along to conventions with real celery sticks on their lapel. And by the time they get to see me, the celery is like this. So this is special Gallifreyan celery, made out of
Magic.
canvas and wire.
Whose idea was it?
It was the producer's, John Nathan Turner. I have no idea what he was thinking. He said to me, first of all, he said to me, okay, I want to think of something that's unusual about your costume, something that's out of the ordinary. So I said, great, fine. And he came to me about, I suppose, 3 weeks later and said, I've got a great idea. You should wear a stick of celery on your lapel. And I said, great, why? And he said, I've no idea. And I said, well, as long as you explain it by the time I leave, that's absolutely fine. And then I forgot about it, and we went all the way through the 3 years, and I got to the very last story, Caves of Androzani, and I realised he had never explained it.
I thought it was because when it died...
No, wait a minute, no. So I said, you have to explain it. This is the last chance, I'm leaving. So he said, okay. So Eric Saywood, who was the script editor, sat down at his typewriter and typed the scene. And it went like this. It says, the Doctor is allergic to certain gases in the... And then he got stuck. So he looked at the name of his typewriter, which was Praxis. And he went, in the Praxis range. And when this gas is present, the celery will turn purple. And then the Doctor can eat it, and then he's saved. And that is the explanation. Actually, I wasn't saved. No, I think Nicola Bryant got in the way, quite literally.
Thank you.
Yes. But it was I thought apart from that, it was quite a good explanation. I was impressed.
Thank you, sir. Now, you have been in a position where you've met and worked with a lot of the other Doctor Who actors and cast members. Given the history, is there anybody else you would love to work with in the role? Like you've been with 10, you've been with 1 through 4. Who would you like to be act as the Doctor with?
Do you mean playing with another?
Yes.
Something with another Doctor?
Another Doctor, another cast member. Like who's been on the road, like say your daughter or John Barrett.
Oh, my daughter then.
I'll send her a video.
Okay. So I think we might be doing that. I'm probably overstepping the market. Someone told me I was doing a story with my daughter in Big Finish, but don't take that as actually gospel. But I heard that. You see how little I know about anything that goes on in my life. It might have been her that said it, actually. Someone rang me up one day and said, oh, hi, Dad, I think we're doing a story together sometime. Anyway. So, yeah, that would be nice, though. Yeah, a little story with Jenny.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Will there ever be a time for you where you feel a little, maybe retired and never doing a Doctor role again, and then actually like, oh, I'm done, I don't want to do this?
Why would I do that? Because... No, not really. As I say, it's never prevented me working. I think the only reason why you wouldn't do it is if you thought that it somehow was impeding your career in some other area, It's never done that. So it's nice to come along to these things. It's nice to do big finishes, and it was lovely. It's fantastic to do the Five-ish Doctors Reboot. So yeah, I'm always, and I like the series, so I'm always very up for doing anything that I'm asked to do.
Fantastic. Good to know. Just want to be
Okay.
Hi, my name is Jim. I had a question. These days, when they're developing the Doctor, it's almost like choosing a new pope. It's like you're waiting for the color of the smoke to come above the BBC and you find out with the decision. What was the process like for developing your character? Was it like, okay, this is your costume, or did you have any part in developing it?
It was almost entirely non-existent, the process. You literally, I think John decided he wanted someone younger.
Right. You were the youngest Doctor at the time.
I was the youngest Doctor at the time, yeah. And he had worked with me briefly on All Creatures Great and Small. He'd been what they call a production unit manager on that show before he left to produce Doctor Who. And he remembered me, and he got it into his head that he'd like me to be the Doctor. And that was based, I guess, on me playing Tristan. So I was waiting for him to give me his thoughts on how to play this particular character. And it never happened. He just left me to get on with it. Now that was great in one way, but also quite daunting because you have nothing to go on. If you're playing a regular character, a real life character who's been brought up in this anywhere in the world, you have certain things to go on. You can say, this man comes from this kind of background, his parents were like this, this is why he became like this is the jobs he's had. With a Time Lord from Gallifrey, you have none of those things to go on. All you have to go on is the fact that there are 4 previous incarnations of your character. But all of them are, yes, not only don't do that, but you are that person, and they're all entirely different, and you've got to be different, and yet you've got to be the same person. It's a kind of conundrum, really, and so you just have to wade in and hope for the best. I know that sounds a bit party, and that's what I did.
So this is the last part of it. So was it like literally day one of filming? You're like, this is what it is. I because as I said earlier, my favourite Doctor was Patrick Troughton. Yeah, I felt the things I liked about Patrick Troughton, some of the things have been lost. This is not a big. It's not having a go at Tom Baker, who had a wonderful character as the Doctor, but I thought that Patrick Troughton had a certain vulnerability to his character that I felt had been lost. I think sometimes, both with John Pertwee and with Tom Baker, there was an element of glibness about the Doctor's actions. So I wanted to bring back a sense that he wasn't entirely sure all the time of what he was doing, because I wasn't. But I just thought that was an important thing. It's what I liked about Patrick Troughton's Doctor. So that's where I started from, really. And the rest, if it was okay, just came out of that. Thank you.
Okay. Hello.
Hi. If you could pick one actor or actress to play the Doctor in the future, who would it be?
In the future? Well, I don't know about that. I can't really think of anyone in the future. That's a difficult one. The easy answer is one of my children. I kind of think now, there's a kind of business in the Davison Tennant dynasty. But I think we've got it right. It's a bit like North Korea. I think we should just. Once Jodie Whittaker's, had her time and decided to move on, I think it should revert just to one of my relations. Do you think I'll just keep a vice-like grip on the show? I think Georgia. I think Georgia would have made a great Doctor as well. She is a Time Lord. Jenny, the Time Lord. She have a spin-off series. I don't know. Really. It's a difficult one. I wouldn't like to, because this is being recorded and no one would ever let me forget it. So I'm keeping my mouth shut.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So everyone says, where's your TARDIS? What if you were given a real working TARDIS? Works exactly like in the show. Where's the first place you would go? Anywhere in space and time. Where's your destination?
Somewhere back in history, I think. Yes, I'd like to go and see how wrong we are about how history was, actually. It'd be very interesting. For example, I was watching a history program the other day about Edward. I forget which Edward it was, but it was around about the 14th century. And this historian was making the point that everyone in the English court at that time spoke French. No one spoke English in England. And I thought, there's lots of things like that where we go back. And everyone thinks that royalty speaks very, 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 very grand. So all the kings who were played in Shakespeare plays, they all speak in what they call received pronunciation, which is what you all know as a very posh British accent. But that didn't happen until George III, because it was when the Germans came over. And that very posh voice is actually a German person trying to speak with an English accent. And it was picked up by the court. So if you think about it, it's very, very sort of like that. But it's also very German, and it's very kind of, it's a very, very strong accent. So before that, who knows what people spoke of? But if they, once they start speaking French, I'd like to go back into the Battle of Hastings and tell King Harold just to take a step to the left. Who knows? And the French would have invaded us in the first place, and no one would be speaking French in the 14th century. So it's all sorts of things, but I think I'd go back into history, not off to some alien planet.
All right, I'll see what I can do.
Okay, could you? Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Hi.
Actually, to quick note on the previous one before speaker, they had asked about an actress or actor that may have been one that you were possibly interested in recommending, or just saying in general. I actually, when I had seen the Weakest Link special for many of the Doctor Who characters who were actors and actresses at the time, I had the idea that Anne Robinson would have been a very interesting Doctor. But I had to come up actually to ask you, when Doctor Who is kind of coming into its slump between from the 80s into the 90s, and then the reboot coming out, and having you heard about that, do you recall hearing about when they were actually going to start attempting to do episodes again with Christopher at the time? And what were your thoughts at the time? Like, obviously, I would get the impression that you would definitely hope that it would come back with great vigor and be able to continue to inspire kids at the time, as well as continue to challenge normality of the time for the themes that they put into the show. But I wanted to get your thoughts on, like, at the time, your reaction, and then looking back now on the reboot as it stand at the time, and where has it come to now?
Right. Well, I was very optimistic about it because Russell T Davies was a terrific writer, and he was in charge of that the series when it came back. I wasn't entirely convinced about Christopher Eccleston, not because he's a terrific actor, Christopher Eccleston. I didn't think his heart seemed to be in it. That's all. Well, he wasn't really.
Hearing from where he's at now, reflecting on his role as the Doctor, almost to an extent of like renouncing it. That's an interesting thing to reflect on at that point now, considering that he doesn't like to be approached on it much. From what I've heard.
I think he wasn't on the same wavelength as Russell T Davies. He was on a perfectly legitimate wavelength. He said, here's a job, it's a nice part, I'd like to do it. But Russell, and as you probably know, everyone else who is a big Doctor Who fan, and most of that production team, right through Stephen Moffat, were huge fans of the original series of Doctor Who, were on a different level of intensity when it came to the programme. And I think that was the problem with Chris. He wasn't quite on the same level of, this is really something special we're bringing back. He was just looking at it like an actor who could approach a job, and that's perfectly fair enough. But it wasn't until David came along, I think, who was absolutely at the same level of intensity.
That was my next thought, is considering your reflection on when Christopher's position in playing the Doctor and going into David, was it, as soon as you saw David and you saw him starting to act in his position as the 10th Doctor, did you immediately say, like, aha, this is the person that's going to be taking that role and really running with it?
Yeah, he revelled in it. That's the thing. He revelled in it because he was a fan of this show, and he wanted to make it this was his moment. And funnily enough, I was surprised that he took it because he was doing really well. He just done a couple of great TV series, and I thought, he wouldn't. I didn't think his name came up, and I thought he won't do it. And then he did do it, and obviously he explained a bit like me. In the end, it's an offer you can't refuse. It's a bit like the old mafia line. It's an offer you can't refuse. You just can't turn it back on him. So I think he got a great job. But I think generally speaking, where the old series fell down sometimes was the writers weren't passionate about the genre. They were just writers who maybe one week would write a detective show, another week a hospital show, and let's do a Doctor Who. More often than not, when the series came back, they were passionate writers, passionate about the genre of science fiction, though. Yeah. So they were very keen on that. So they wanted to explore that genre and those areas. So I think that's why I thought it was a really good thing. Generally speaking, I think they've done a wonderful job. I mean, I think sometimes my only worry is sometimes it gets a little too up itself, if you want me to be blunt. Because it's just once, for fans of the series, it's fantastic they can sit down and think it's great. But in order to be successful, you've also got to have casual viewers who sit down and know what the hell's going on. Yeah. And when you get to the point where you don't know what's going on, I mean, I for many years, sorry, I'm not letting you speak. For many years, when I did Doctor Who, I was really good at picking up the script and understanding the story, and I would often know much more than the director about the story. And when the series came back, all the way through the first 3 or 4 series, I would absolutely sit down and understand everything that was going on. I'd sit there and watch it with my children. Then after that, there were moments, and this may just be age, when I would find myself watching the television and turning to my son and going, what's going on? And I thought, if I'm doing that, then probably there are a lot of people out there. Hi.
Hi. Do you like celery?
Do you know, I hate celery more than almost anything else. In fact, there's a great, if they let the tape run on, there's a scene, I think in Castrovalva, when I walk in and there's this table of food, and I go look at, celery, I say, and I take a big mouthful of it, and then the scene cuts, and what you don't see is me going, it's disgusting. It's stringy, tasteless. I don't mind wearing it on my lapel as a decorative vegetable, but I don't see the point of it for other reasons. Unless it's when there's gases in the praxis range around, and then it's useful. Sorry. Do you like celery? I don't.
My opinion's kind of the same as yours.
Oh yeah. I figured it was. Yeah. I don't think anyone really likes celery. I think they just say they do. It seems kind of healthy, doesn't it? But it's just yucky. Anyway, thank you. Thank you.
What is your favorite Doctor Who episode and why?
My favourite, by the way, you've been eating too much celery. My favourite of mine, do you mean? My favourite story? Well, in the end, I think, for a long time when I was making the series, it was Earthshock, because it was a Cyberman story, and I was rather fond of Cybermen. Then by the time I left, I think it was Caves of Androzani, because it was a classic story. It was written by Robert Holmes, who was a real good Doctor Who writer. It was directed by Graham Harper, who's a nutcase, and kept running all over he stayed on the studio floor and started to direct us. And we weren't used to that. We were just used to a voice telling us what to do. But the result was great. So I think Caves of Androzani is terrific, except for the last 30 seconds, where I think the whole thing goes downhill in a major way. There are other doctors who think that the last 30 seconds were the only good part of Caves of Androzani, but I prefer not to discuss that here. Yeah, I think Case Vanzani was a great story.
Thank you. Thank you for your questions. Thank you everyone for your questions, and thank you for spending time listening.
Have we finished?
We are finished.
Okay, all right.
We do
Okay.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give us a like. You can share it with some friends, and please feel free to leave a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe, and there's a little bell thing. If you click that, you get notifications when we have more videos coming out. See you next time.